Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, where I get a chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. This broadcast is sponsored by Reveal-Brainspace, the industry's leading AI eDiscovery platform. Don't forget to subscribe to watch me, George Socha, weekly with leaders in eDiscovery. Thank you for tuning in.
Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. I am George Socha, and now we have an airplane going overhead. I head up knowledge, brand awareness at Reveal. Each week I host an episode, or in this case this week 2 episodes, of eDiscovery Leaders Live, where I get the chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. Full past episodes are available on the Reveal website. Go to revealdata.com, select resources, then select eDiscovery Leaders Live. This is obviously not our usual day or time, nor is it our usual location. Today we are broadcasting live from the University of Florida Levin College of Law, where we are hosting the 10th annual UF Law eDiscovery Conference. I have with me today Matt Rasmussen.
Hi, everybody.
Matt is founder, CEO, and president of ModeOne. He also will be with me on a panel tomorrow on integrating data. And Matt,
Right.
welcome.
Hey, thank you very much.
I'd like to have you start out by telling folks a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how it is you got to where you are.
Sure. So been in eDiscovery for 22 years now. I started in Omaha, Nebraska, behind a copy machine. And my father was always kind of pressing upon me on I needed to always better the ball. I always needed to, go the extra mile at work. And I think that's kind of paid off as I rode like the technology wave that kind of went through eDiscovery. So, copying became scanning, scanning became eDiscovery. And then I got poached by Bingham McCutcheon in San Francisco. And that's kind of what kicked off my eDiscovery career. So now today, I left O'Melveny & Myers in March.
If you move the vest up higher, we can see, there we go.
There it is. I left O'Melveny & Myers last March to start ModeOne here. And we are a smartphone discovery platform. What we focus on is remote targeted collections on smartphones. So when I was a practitioner, I was running into the same issues with my custodians where they were very upset. I was taking all of their data from their phone, not just the artifacts I needed. And so me and my executive team, we put our heads together and figured out a way to solve that problem for the market.
It's a startup.
Yeah, it's a real startup. We're eating ramen and meeting every morning, and it's very exciting.
Well, tell me about some of the challenges with that.
Oh, sure. So I think for me personally, being in eDiscovery so long, I feel like I know the reference models, I know the workflows, I know a lot of that kind of stuff. Where I was really lacking is a lot more of the general kind of business practices, right? Like now I'm legal, I'm now marketing, I'm now finance, I'm accounting. And so there's a lot of it's a different kind of pressure, right? I'm not dealing with Friday productions anymore, but I am dealing with payroll, and I've got people and their families that work for me. And so there's a lot of things like that have been challenging. It's an awesome kind of learning experience for me. I feel like I'm thriving in the role I'm in, and so I feel like I'm home, and it's a very exciting educational opportunity.
So now, instead of having once a week being Friday at 5, now every day and every hour is Friday at 5.
That's right. It's always a fire drill.
So it's been just under a year?
Yeah, just under a year.
What are the lessons learned so far?
Oh man. Okay. So in software development, man, so when we're on a law firm with a project, or if I was at a vendor on a project, you've got very tight deadlines. All the teams understand, Friday is when we're going to be hitting this deadline. In software, what's crazy is that the amount of variables that can come at us that would throw a bug, cause a problem, it's infinite, right? And so I think a great example of this is last year, I think we did just over 1,000 phones, and we ran into a phone that had some encoding issue and threw a bug for a client. So we had to patch it and fix that. But it's one of those things where I have to understand that I need to budget for those types of issues. We're not just triaging those kind of issues. So I think like that's probably one of my biggest lessons learned, is just how to schedule that out, what the timelines look like. So that's been a huge lessons learned for me. And the other thing is that the amount of phones that are out there. This is one of those things.
You could have possibly picked a more challenging area, but I'm not sure what it could have been.
No, I seriously.
Yeah.
The problem was when I was thinking about getting into technology, Reveal, there's no way I'm building a document review platform. I'm not building a way to collect O365 email, right? There was a ton of those tools out there and companies that are doing those types of things. And so I really wanted to find this kind of niche part of the industry, and it's full of challenges for sure.
Well, and first of all, you've got all the various iPhones and
Yep.
all the changes that Apple imposes on you
Yep.
at an unpredictable time. Then you've got all the different flavors of Android phones,
Right.
and then there are other phones.
Right,
How do you deal with all of that?
So we kind of triaged it based on like OS is what we did. So we really focused on iOS early. Android was second, and then we're trying to start making some inroads into BlackBerry's the next one that's not that prevalent. I mean, really, iOS and Android have really about a 50-50 split. Like Huawei and there's a new Indian iOS kind of competitor. BlackBerry's obviously there. So we're just trying to find additional ways that we can, again, target the data off those devices.
There are any number of different types of data available on the devices, and then there's data available through the devices.
Right.
Let's look at the first part.
Sure.
The data on the devices. Again, simple question, hard to answer. How do you deal with that?
Sure. I think one of the things that's kind of interesting to understand is that it's not documents that reside on your phone, right? It's databases that join from different tables, and then they display that data on your phone. So that's been a very cool kind of new source of evidence there. And so and it's infinite, right? There's text messaging, you've got your attachments that you sent. There are tools like WhatsApp that stores data on your device, and so it really does change from app to app and from data type to data type, because it's based on however they wanted to store it. And so we're kind of chipping away app by app to make sure that we can support all those things, because it's not really a one size fits all.
Right.
Yeah.
With the folks you've worked with so far, what have they been most interested in terms of the content from phones?
Most interested is easily text and WhatsApp. That's really the bread and butter. We supported a few more apps over the year last year, but almost every single collection is just text to WhatsApp, and then we collect the contacts so that we have your friendly name in the review portal. So that's been everyone's kind of bread and butter. One of the apps that we supported was the photo library, just as a kind of a low-hanging fruit option, and I've done 0 of those over a year, right? And so
Okay, why?
because where there's 1 or 10 photos that are relevant, we don't need their entire photo library, right?
Okay.
So
they can pick those. They think they can pick those out.
correct. Yep. So we walk them through a forensic way to send them to like an iCloud account, and then we collect those that way, because it's a much smaller footprint. I'm not intruding on their private data. I don't need their family photos from Florida, and so we're able to kind of exclude those.
With the exception of the surprise with photos, what area of content available on the phones do you think people should be interested in, but haven't appeared to be interested in?
Oh, sure. Okay, so location info, I think, is the big one. So for anyone that has an iPhone, if you want a little bit of a scare, you go under your location services. There is a significant locations area on your phone that tracks your home, your office, your significant other's home. There's your phone and every app tracks at where you went, how long you were there, what roads you took. And so there are cases that we've helped on where we were able to prove that two folks were at the same coffee shop in the same hour, right? And so when we're trying to show an IP leakage or some sort of collusion of trade secrets or whatever the matter could be, the location info is huge. And I think, like, we'll talk about this on Thursday, but one of the things we're going to talk about is that there are content, there's text messages that are on your phone, but there's also metadata that's on your phone that tells a story that isn't a document, right? It's the GPS coordinates, or it was the IP addresses you were hitting and things like that. So it really is just a treasure trove of information on those devices.
Back many years ago, when Encase was the dominant tool for doing a forensic collection of the contents of a computer, I was using maybe version 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is. I would get the image and then I would start perusing it, not looking for the content of files, but looking for how people organized information.
Okay.
To try to start to get inside their heads, figure out who they were, how they lived, what they did in connection with whatever matter I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see people doing the same type of thing with content from mobile devices? It would seem the opportunities are so much greater now.
They are, and I think that kind of decision tree comes down to what the case is about, right? So if this was like a criminal matter and we needed to see everything that the accused were doing, then we would look through every text message and every photo and analyze every face. Like that would need that level of scrutiny. For us, mainly dealing on the civil side, the big thing is the custodians are so like dead set that you only get the text messages you wanted, or you're only getting the date scope of what we wanted. And so we're not really seeing a lot of that, where it's just kind of free range of research into their data, because it's just proliferated over their business, over their personal and private, kind of information now.
There's the data on the device, and then there's the data available through the device. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, whatever app it might be, maybe it's Box or Dropbox or whatever it is, you can see they use it, but you don't have the files on the phone.
Right.
How do you deal with all of those?
Yeah, so it depends. So Slack is a great example where the app on your phone, it stores some amount of account information, but it doesn't include any of my content. It really is a window preview into the Slack servers where we're, kind of exchanging information. Mm-hmm. So for applications like that, email, Teams, Slack, Zoom, Skype, those types of collaborative tools, what we always suggest is that our clients go to the source, right? So you can go directly to your Slack admin console, you can export the channels you wanted, and that's the source of truth for us for those types. We absolutely will collect, application information to know when Slack was installed and when the last time it was updated and what version it's running. We'll have that kind of information, but as far as the content, we go to the source.
If we step back and take a broader look at the industry as a whole, what do you see, and particularly thinking about the content available on and through mobile devices, what do you see as some of the challenges and opportunities in the industry?
Specifically with mobile?
We'll start there, and
sure.
we can go broader than that if you want.
Yeah. So some of the opportunities, I think one of the things that ModeOne's doing that's different is we are kind of challenging a 15-year kind of standard, right? It was, I had to collect your whole phone. I just explained that to my custodian. So I think one of the cool things that we're going to be seeing is now that we can target data off the device, if I just needed your location info, if I just grab that, I think what we're going to really see is a lot of cool tools out there that are going to be like heat maps or be able to show travel patterns and being able to aggregate that metadata story a little bit better. That's a very cool frontier I'm very excited about. There's obviously not a ton of people that are playing in that space right now. It is pretty new. I see that being a huge thing. And then when
the dominant approach still is grab the whole device, right?
Yeah, for some people it is. Yeah. That's right. specifically on law enforcement, right? And that would make sense.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. One of the challenges I definitely see is that apps can be made by anybody, right? So it's not like we're waiting for Teams from Microsoft or Hangouts from Google. It could be George's, Reveal chat or something like that. You know what I mean? Where you store it the way you want to, you communicate it the way you want it to. Like a great example is I worked on a case where somebody was exfiltrating information through Words with Friends, right? And so it's stuff like that where it's just the challenge is going to be of all the egress points off that device, do we locate them all? Do we have all the content for them? And so, just building those workflows and those procedures around how we interact with smartphones, just to make sure that we're treating them the way we need to, we're defensively collecting the data we need.
I would think there's another challenge, which is level of adoption. How much is this content sought, and how much is this content used in civil litigation? Oh,
sure. So we are definitely seeing a huge uptick. Celebrate had an insights report that came out a couple of weeks ago, and they said that 89% of all LSPs are now collecting phones on all cases. 91% of all corporations have a phone component. And this is in addition to the email, the laptop. And so we are absolutely seeing a huge uptick in how smartphone data is now becoming part of, scope. I remember when attorneys would agree that WhatsApp was off limits because it was so difficult to deal with. So yeah, that's it's very cool. And then how we use it, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? With the increase in review kind of capabilities and things like that. I just think that's going to increase how often phones are considered as part of a discovery data.
What opportunities do you see?
Opportunities. So there's a ton. So obviously I'm playing in the civil litigation side, where we are going to be seeing a huge opportunity is helping departing employees or like some of the corporate kind of in-house teams deal with this data. So when George and I are on a project, right, we're dealing with some sort of litigation or some sort of investigation. For corporate side, there's also going to be the business need for departing employees, and they just need to grab texts, or there's an HR, they want to look at something real quick. We want to be able to provide a very quick preview into that data without having, again, to collect the whole phone or go through the whole phone. So that's a huge opportunity. The review side of this is infinite. The amount of reporting and mapping and analytics we can put on top of this, I think those are the big opportunities that we're going to be focusing on here this year.
What sort of, the flip side of that, what sort of resistance do you see out there?
So for me, as a brand new startup, some people have heard of ModeOne, some people haven't. There is, as funny as it sounds, there is a brand recognition kind of challenge, right?
I've heard.
Yeah. Who's ModeOne? What do they do? And then once we are able to actually have that conversation, then I'm challenging what is a standard workflow for a forensics team or something, right? And so that's why my team has done a very good job at being able to interact with those forensics teams, those InfoSec teams, understand how we're interacting with the phone, why it's defensible, how we're validating that data. So I think that's been the big thing for us. I'm really hoping, as some of these shoes drop here, that we'll start getting a lot more momentum in the marketplace and kind of overcome that challenge of brand recognition and just understanding what our technology does and just market validation.
So for someone at, say, a law firm where they are only now for the first time trying to deal with content from mobile devices, they've managed to push that off, but now they can no longer avoid it.
Sure.
What suggestions do you have for someone like that?
Suggestions are easy. And we always talk about this with our clients. There's a decision tree, right? And the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you need off the device, right? So if this was like an intellectual property theft, then I would say, look at every app. If there's a chat component, like I talked about Words with Friends earlier, look through everything, right? That's a high level of scrutiny. The case would demand that level. But if you just need a couple artifacts, a couple photos, a couple text conversations, you want to know what applications they have on their phone or who they called, those kind of things, that's number one. So understand what you need, and then there are tons of tools in the market, ModeOne being one of them, that can help you triage those appropriately. You know, under like the other thing that I would suggest is that myself and anybody else that's in the market, specifically on smartphones, information security is a very high requirement for our clients, for our clients' clients, and so the other part is just explaining to, I would have associates or any attorney out there explain to their clients why it's safe, why it's secure, why they don't have to panic that all their private data is out of their control. That's what I would suggest in how we're kind of moving into this smartphone era.
And then the flip side, what sort of pitfalls should they be aware of?
Oh, so there's two that come to mind immediately. Number one is know what applications you're looking for. So if you're doing a meet and confer or you have a demand letter, if you are asking for text messaging, I would assume that that is native text messaging, SMS, MMS, iMessage, or you know, what's it on Android? Anyway, but there's lots of times where I would confer with my clients of like, okay, well, are you also looking for other types of short message formats like WhatsApp, Signal, WeChat, Slack, right? And so where people use a term or an application to mean more of a broader category of documents, that would be one thing I would say is that's a big pitfall. So be careful of when you're requesting data, you're being very clear about what you want, or just opening it up to be a little bit more ambiguous on the type of data you're looking for. And then it's how you produce, right? And so we all know the Alex Jones thing that happened last year. And I'm sure some of the people that are going to be watching this, I'm sure you guys have seen a full image of a phone that comes to you like in an Excel report, and it has every thread and every chat bubble in one sheet on Excel. And so when that information is given,
the sun keeps moving.
Yeah.
I'm not used to sun.
So that what happened is that, you know, obviously got put up on that box account. Be careful when you're producing data, right? That's one thing that we do, right? We make it so that each record is the thread, not one record that has every thread, right? And so just double QC your material before it goes out. You have to understand that this is the most private information that these people have, that they own. And so just having that level of QC and validating it before it gets disclosed would be very beneficial.
Well, Matt, any last words of wisdom here?
Ooh, this is not a selling point for me, but it is just a thing that I dealt with. If there's anybody out there that thinks you guys have a good idea, or you guys want to change something, or you want to, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, go do it. This last year has been amazing. I've been surrounded by very strong people that have helped me along the way. And looking back on it, I'm so glad I made the decision to kind of pursue this. And so I just would encourage people, if you've got that kind of, you know, that's how you're feeling about it, then I would say go chase that dream.
Great. Well, thank you, Matt. Matt Rasmussen is the founder, CEO, and president of ModeOne. I am George Socha. This has been eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. Matt, thank you very much.
Thank you.